Hi, and welcome to another LRCC Soundbite. After the last 2 weeks talking about a prophet called Elijah, this week I thought I'll talk about his apprentice. He had a very similar name. His name was Elisha. So, here's Elisha. He goes around for some time with Elijah, learning from him, finding out about God, and discovering what it was like to be doing the things that God asked him to do. So, when Elijah's time came and he was no longer here, Elisha took over as God's prophet in Israel. Now, Elijah had to deal with lots of difficult times. The king and queen had been out to get him. People throughout Israel had been told to follow different gods. But Elisha was going to have a slightly easier time of it in some ways. He didn't, the king had died. His son took over. This new king wasn't as bad. He wasn't quite there, but he wasn't as bad. And he certainly didn't go out pursuing Elisha. In fact, the king after that would go and look for Elisha, but not to get him, but to listen to his advice. So, a complete turnaround, really. Anyway, I wasn't going to talk about that. Instead, I want to talk about a little story about the widow of another man, a prophet of God. And we don't know her name. We don't know his name. All we know is that this man had died. And when he died, he owed some money to somebody else. And the man he'd lent money to decided to call in the debt, even though the man had died. And the widow had no money. The only way this debt could be paid was if her sons were taken away. She had 2 sons taken away and sold as slaves. So the woman sent a message to Elisha asking him for help. So Elisha asked her, what have you got? What possessions have you got that might be useful here? Nothing. She said, I don't have anything. It's all gone. The only thing is a very small jar with a little bit of olive oil in it. That's it. So Elisha told her, go and find as many jars and containers and whatever you can find from your house and your neighbours' houses. Find as many as you can. Bit of a strange request, but off she went. And then she started pouring oil from this little jar into the first container. Somehow she filled it. So she carried on and she filled the second and the third and the fourth and kept going. Every jar, every bottle, every container, everything they could find was filled to the brim with this beautiful olive oil. When there were no more jars left, that was it. Her jar was then empty. Elisha told her, now you can go and sell all that oil. Use some of the money to pay off the debt. Keep the rest, and it will keep you and your sons for a long time. I think it's a lovely story. It shows how God's people help each other, as well as, of course, God standing by his people and giving them what they most need when they most need it. I think there's a really important thing as well about using the thing that God has given you in the way that God intended it to be used. In this case, Elisha was able to perform a miracle from God with the intention of enabling this family who have suffered the loss of the father to stay together and not just survive, but thrive and do well. I won't tell you this story now, but just after this, there comes a story where someone else tries to take advantage of a miracle from God to make some money for themselves. And suffice to say, that didn't end well. Some people sometimes wonder what gift, what thing God might have given them, because we look and we just don't see it. But sometimes when you step back and look at all the things that you have, all the things you're good at, the things you enjoy, the things you take for granted, suddenly you start to see something that makes that person amazing and unique. And then you can start to think, okay, in what way might God want you to use that gift that you might not already be doing? The woman in our story had only a little tiny bit of oil in a jar. Yet God was able to turn that into an amazing blessing for her and her family. And of course, her sons never went into slavery. I realise as I tell you these stories, you might want to read some of them for yourself. If you don't have a copy of the Bible and live near us, do let us know and we can drop a free copy round to you. There's also some great online resources if you fancy doing it that way. There's one called BibleGateway.com. It's a great website for reading different versions of the Bible. If you want any advice on which one to read or where to start, do get in touch. Love to talk to you about it. God bless you this week, and I'll see you next time.